Here we are in the third of our 4 videos. This is the third of the 4 arithmetic operations. We've already done add, subtract. This is multiply. So the purpose of this again is to give us an idea of what does multiplying look like. Not how do I do it, but what happens when I multiply, so that when I read a word problem, I might be able to see in the story, this is going on. That looks like multiply to me. So let's move on. Multiplying can be thought of as an action of combining things. Now, you're right if you say, well, that's what adding does. Well, adding does this too. There's 2 things we can do to combine things. So multiplying is also a way of combining things. Multiplying is a way of combining groups of things that are the same. So look at this pattern here. If I know the number of things in one group and I want a whole bunch of those groups, then I can use multiplying to get me the total of all of those things put together. So here's a picture. I've got groups of 7. Each of these groups down here, each of those rectangles, started off with 7 squares in them. And if I count out how many rectangles now, there's 8 rectangles altogether. So I've got 7 groups, and I've got 7 groups 8 different times. So if I start pulling the pieces out of those groups and collecting or combining them into one great big pile, I get 56 of these things. That's the answer for 7 times 8. Now, I could have combined them by adding, because I've got 8 groups with 7 inside each. So I could have done 7 plus 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 7. I could have added the number 7 8 different times. You hear the word times keep coming up. That's the word for multiply, isn't it, that we use? Then I could have found the answer that way. That'd be a lot of punching on my calculator. 7 plus 7 plus. Multiplying is a shortcut for adding together groups of things that are the same. So 8 groups of 7 in each group, total 56. Some words for multiplying. Same words as for adding. I can, if they ask me to find a total, to total something or combine things or put things together, it could be that multiplying is the action I want to use if I'm putting together groups of things that are the same. The answer we call the product. So if I multiply 2 numbers together, so 7 times 8, 56 is the answer. I call 56 the product of 7 and 8. So that's the answer word. There's different ways to write multiplication. We can use it using the word times. And remember, that's really interesting, isn't it? 3 times 5. I could say, I've got the number 5 3 times. 5 and 5 again and 5 again. So I can add them. 5 and 5 and 5 is 15, or 3 times 5 is 15, same thing. This is the traditional times symbol, but there's also these 2 ways that I can show it. Notice this is not a decimal here. It's not sitting on the floor with the 3 and the 5. It's up in the spot where we see the minus and the plus sign, up in the middle of the line. And then down here we've got brackets. And brackets are used once we get into algebra because we don't want to be using x's then, because they confuse with the letter x. So different ways to multiply. What happens when we multiply a number by 1? Well, if we have 7 in a group like we did a moment ago, and we've got one group of 7, what's the total I've got? Well, one group of 7 just means I've got 7. So the answer to the question of what's 1 times 7, it stays the same. The answer doesn't change. Well, when you multiply a number by 0, well, let's do the same thinking again and say we've got 7 in a group, but now we've got none of those groups. That's a bit odd to think of. 7 in a group and we've got none of them. But yeah, we've got no groups here. So really, it doesn't matter how many are in a group. If I've got no groups, I've got nothing. So the answer to this question is 0. So when you multiply a number by 0, the answer is always going to be 0. Does the order matter? 8 times 2, 16. 2 times 8, 16. Order doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what number, what order you punch things into your calculator, you will get the same answer either way. There's our third video on the topic of the arithmetic operation of multiplying, a fast way to combine things that are the same.